What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the Sixers Digest YouTube channel. My name is Sean Barnard, as always. I'd recently broke down the James Harden report from Ramona Shelburne. I hope you guys checked out this video. That was kind of the James Harden slant on things, but today I want to take a look at it from the Joel Embiid point of view and how things impact him. So I'm excited to break that down, give another blurb from the article, as well as a couple other things out there. But before I get into it, I do want to make sure and make note that make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel. If you're looking for your home for the best Sixers content, keeping it regular on just about an everyday basis, that can be that. So I'm excited to have you guys along for the ride. Make sure to drop that subscribe. 93.6% of you have not at this point. So let's get that number up and join the Sixers journey with me. So without further ado, let's jump into the Joel Embiid side of things when it comes to the James Harden situation. That is the biggest question. That as much as it is a pain in the neck, all this stuff that James Harden is doing, the Sixers have to stick it out because they have to get it right and they have to make sure that they're keeping Joel Embiid happy. Now, this is a sign of good news for Sixers fans because in the Ramona Shelburne article, she wrote, quote, "Thus far, Embiid has given the franchise assurances that he is okay riding out the current drama with Harden," sources said. How long he gives them to resolve the matter remains to be seen. Maxey has done the same, even waiting on a contract extension this summer so the franchise can preserve its ability to operate under the salary cap and improve the team in the future. Both have been in touch with Harden throughout, maintaining their personal relationships. Embiid even invited Harden to his wedding in July, sources said. So first off, huge bummer. James Harden, if you get that wedding invite for your boy Joel, you got to go, man. I understand all the off-court stuff. I understand the optics. I understand that you probably did not want to be rubbing shoulders with Daryl Morey and Elton Brand at that point in time, but you still got to go to your friend's wedding, and that is disappointing from the point of view that I do think Joel Embiid and James Harden, take all the business, all the nonsense aside, I do think as human beings that they do genuinely like each other in a way that Joel hasn't seemed to with a lot. So it is disappointing to see this falling apart. But the biggest storyline in that is, of course, that James Harden has given the Sixers the pass that he will see this out, or Joel Embiid has given the Sixers pass and making sure that he will stick it out with the franchise. Another thing to note is this cap space plan that keeps getting floated out there. We know that the optimism from Daryl Morey, he's talked about it openly on radio and as well as a couple other times, and people kind of connecting the dots here, but there is not a lot on the books for next offseason. That Tobias Harris is entering the final year of that massive contract. James Harden is in for a one-year deal if the Sixers are to see that all the way through. That alone is over $60 million, over $70 million that will be coming off the books and free money. When you have Joel Embiid, when you have an up-and-coming player like Tyrese Maxey and a ton of cap space, that could work out well. But that only works in theory because you actually have to bring players in and make sure that players want to come to Philadelphia, and that is no guarantee based on the state of the front office and everything that has happened over the past couple years. So that is kind of a plan that has been sold. I have no idea if Joel Embiid is fully on board with that plan, but something to keep in mind. Now, these comments are especially refreshing to hear if you want to think back and think of those comments from Joel Embiid that had the, everybody in a frenzy here in Philadelphia. And I have the quote here from Harden, or from Embiid. This was a couple weeks ago. Quote, "I just want to win a championship, whatever it takes," Embiid said in an interview with Maverick Carter that took place Thursday at the Uninterrupted Sports Film Festival. Quote, "I don't know where that's going to be, whether it's in Philly or anywhere else. I just want to have a chance to accomplish that. I want to see what it feels like to win the first one, and then you can think about the next one. It's not easy, but it takes more than one or two or three guys. You got to have good people around you, and myself every single day. I work hard to be at the level so I can make it happen. So every single day, I'm working towards that." So that was not a great quote to hear at the time. That was the first kind of door being left open of Joel Embiid potentially leaving the Sixers. Now, for that overall concept, let me speak on. For starters, I think as a whole that it is a situation that it is trying to be made a story much more than it is one of Joel Embiid leaving Philadelphia. And I don't think he's at that point in time where he's ready to leave, but he is going to be 30 this year, and it would be naive of each of us to believe that he's just going to blindly follow the Sixers considering what the state of the NBA is and how much power that stars have when it comes to choosing and switching teams. Joel Embiid is still an MVP caliber, the reigning MVP, a guy that has ranked top 2 in MVP voting over the past 3 seasons, one of the premier talent in the leagues, and the stability of the Sixers franchise over the last decade. And the Sixers are going to ride with him until he wants out, until he does not want to be ridden with anymore. The reason that Joel Embiid will be out of Philadelphia will never be the Sixers front office electing to trade him. It will be Joel Embiid saying, "I want out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. Trade me." That is how things will go down. For now, I don't think that is at the state for where we're at. But if they get a mild return for this Harden package, if this drama stems into training camp once again and it turns into another wasted year of Joel Embiid's prime, which who knows how long it will extend for, then that's a problem. And you honestly can't even blame the guy if he continues to get sick of it, considering all the missteps that he's been through, whether it be the Mikal Bridges trade that Jimmy Butler brought in for half a season, not re-signed, choosing Tobias Harris over Jimmy if you want to bring it and frame it that way, the Markelle Fultz pick, the centers that he was brought into, the GM talking about him on a burner. The list goes on and on as far as what Joel Embiid has been through in Philadelphia. But overall, he really has done the right thing and done the right things. And I do want to point out that he continues to get working with Drew Hanlon. There's pictures of him in the lab already circulating there. And I wanted to just take a look at his stats overall just as evidence of the improvements. I wanted to pull up the big picture that look at the growth that he has put on throughout his career. And a 20.2 point per game score as a rookie is very impressive. We know that he missed the first 2 years of his career with the foot injuries. That is really the sole reason why he was able to fall to the Sixers in the draft. But look at the continued progression when it comes to the scoring. The rebounding take a little bit of a dip this year. I think that is something that's going to change itself. But growing into the leading scorer in the NBA over the past 2 seasons is just absurd. Leading the NBA in scoring at 30.6 points per game last season and then going to improve to 33.1 points per game by 3 whole points is just an absurd number. And James Harden, by the way, does deserve some credit for that he's been huge for further unlocking and making sure that Joel Embiid is playing for up to his potential and creating easy looks for him in a way that just hasn't happened in the past. And some of that is the Ben Simmons conversation, the spacing that is brought on by Ben being on the court. Just Ben not being as fluent in pick and roll situations, partially due to his size, and all of those things all are a factor. But the bottom line is that James Harden did optimize Joel Embiid in a way that he hasn't in the past. And I do think that is a huge reason for success on this, a huge reason for why Harden wanted to come to Philly. And I thought that was Harden accepting his role, understanding that he was the co-star and he was there to be the support system for Joel Embiid, rather than kind of him seeming like he still wants to be the guy and throwing the hissy fit that he is currently on. So for Joel, that is kind of the outlook for the Sixers. It is on Joel Embiid's timeline, and that is the method for the franchise. It keeps being just harped on again by Daryl Morey, by Josh Harris, by several members of the Sixers front office, of that there are many teams around the NBA that would love to be in the Sixers position, even despite this drama. And to an extent, that is true, but that is only true when Joel Embiid is here. That once Joel Embiid does release that one statement of I don't want to be here anymore, trade me, that entire thing changes. So for now, everything should continue to be done to keep him happy, to build up the proper roster around him. And this is not fully defend Joel Embiid mode, that there is absolutely faults that he has. For starters, he's a significant part of the infrastructure in Philly, that as much as I talk about him being the stability of it being built up around him, then he has to play a part in that. And some of the, the effort that comes out within the team, that is brought on by the times where he is lazy or doesn't have the best body language and things like that. And for as much as the rosters have not been perfect and that there are fair criticisms to the roster construction that you can throw out, he still should have made it past the second round by now. That we've still seen the playoff shortcomings. We know these largest point per game dip from regular season to playoffs ever from any MVP was Joel Embiid this season. There are a number of turnovers. We've seen him shoot 0 for 12 in the second half of a matchup against the Hawks. There's plenty of playoff shortcomings that can be brought on. But when you kind of separate these two with Joel Embiid and James Harden, for starters, it's very clearly Joel Embiid's team, that he's still in his prime. He's still at that stage in his career. And when you look at James Harden, he's just not that guy anymore, and he clearly wants out of here. But when you separate them and look at them as individuals and far as players that you can build winning culture around, Joel is still a significant notch again. And for basketball reasons, what I will bring up is number one is the defensive. That he is that high level of a defender that is always going to give your team a chance. The Sixers have always been a solid defense with Joel Embiid on the floor, and that includes having some very poor defenders on the court with him. I'm speaking on the Tyrese Maxey, who has gotten much better, the Georges Niangs, the Danny Greens, who just doesn't have the legs anymore, things like that Embiid, as a rim protector, as a guy that can guard 1 through 5 in a way that very few can across the entire NBA, he does hold that level. You pair that with a guy that has led the NBA in scoring the past 2 years, that is a ridiculous combination. Now, he does have to take steps to get better, to become a better teammate, to elevate the floor of the team around him in a way that he doesn't quite it doesn't do at an adequate level just yet. But he's still Joel Embiid, he's still homegrown, and he still wants to be here. And that is the good news of the day. So as long as Joel Embiid is willing to stick out this James Harden news, stick out how things play out from here, you guys all should too. Because as long as he's here, there is a championship chance, and one player does make that much of a difference for a franchise. For now, we will see how things happen from here. I appreciate you guys for tuning into this video. Make sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the whole situation. If you're just over it, if you're just sick of it, unfortunately, I think we are just getting started. This drama is not going anywhere soon, so I will be here with you every step of the way. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.